listening to this podcast right now. Me? Do you want to hear a fucking podcast about anything and everything? Yeah. Like movies, music, television, and more?
Oh my god.
Well, you've come to the right place. Yes. Subscribe to Journey into Comics Network, and you get Podcastrophe, hosted by me, Dick. Why not throw a couple bucks to the Patreon? It's your choice. Yeah. This is a Podcastrophe.
That sounds so awesome.
The following
Journey into Comics.
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 Journey into Comics
Network.
Production.
Hello and welcome back. This is episode 9 of Adulting It Easy. I am feigning my excitement because it's been a long day at work and Liz is now back at school and we're all tired again. So that is life, but we're here to talk about more of our vacation. This is Adulting It Easy and I'm joined as always by my lovely wife Liz.
Hello. I bet by now you're probably sick of us talking about this trip.
I know, and it's actually, since we've started this, it's been
a month.
This is our 3rd episode, and we do it every other week. So yeah, it has been a while. Mm-hmm. So,
but still fresh in my mind. I like to think about it a lot, like a lot. Like,
I feel like every time you put that necklace on, you're like, take me back. If I rub this 3 times, will it send me back to Africa?
Yeah, right. I need a genie to send me back.
Need like a portal to Africa.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we left off talking mostly about kind of our last days in Capetown with our actual tour group. But we actually had 2 full extra days to enjoy ourselves there.
Can you tell the story why?
Because Liz is a dumbass.
Liz wasn't dumb.
I
think it worked out really well.
It did work out well, but originally, so the way that the tour worked was like it goes from Monday. It's a 10-day, so it goes Monday to Wednesday, but I thought that Wednesday would be a full day, so you'd leave either Wednesday night or like Thursday. Well, did not quite get the memo that Wednesday is when you have to book your flight to go home. So when I actually booked my flight and sent my flight information to they call it travel manager. I don't know, I think it's similar to travel agent, but she's like, oh, I noticed that you have your return date that you're leaving the 25th. You're supposed to be leaving the 24th. Do you want me to book you another night? And I'm like, what the heck? So I tried to change my flight, but of course it would have cost $300 per ticket, so that would be $600 for the 2 of us, on top of our pretty pricey flight anyway.
Right. So
I'm just like, well, how much is it for an extra night at the place that we stayed? And it was $180. I was like, yeah, that's a lot cheaper than paying $600 to go back early. So it was nice because it was probably the best situation because Capetown has the hop on, hop off. So it's really easy to just go and do things that we weren't able to do like with our original tour group. So we started off with our friends, Frank and Melissa, because they were leaving in the morning, so we were able to get lunch or get breakfast with them and our tour guide before they kind of shipped us off and said see you later.
Because Sasha and her mom had an early flight. Yeah. Because they were gone before we got up.
Yeah, they had like a 5 a.m. flight because they actually had to fly from Capetown to Johannesburg and then to their like other destinations, which I had even no idea.
I think it was home. It was Indonesia.
I don't think that they had a straight flight to Indonesia.
Maybe another connection?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was saying that.
I don't remember, but that sounds awful.
But anyway, so we actually went to like kind of like their version of Starbucks because there's not really a Starbucks. It's called Bootleggers Coffee. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty good. I mean, it was like a Starbucks plus because you kind of got better food.
I don't think it was a chain.
It was a chain.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
There were others in the mall. But it's like, yeah, it was a chain, and it was basically like a restaurant. If Starbucks had a breakfast menu, a better breakfast menu, like with eggs and sauce, like a sit down. Yeah.
Okay.
And okay, you're sounding like
it sounds fine.
You're like, it sounds fun. No, you were there.
You ate.
You ate there.
We got to sit at the bar facing a random downtown street.
Mm-hmm. But it was walking distance from the apartment, so that was nice. And then, basically, once that was over, it was like, well, see you later. And we had to organize with a different tour guide who was actually starting the trip. Because they kind of literally go back to back with these different trips. And,
well, we got dropped off, didn't we?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But we had to organize with a different tour guide from the company to, like, make sure that we could get to the airport, because the other guy was like, it just makes sense because the other guy's working and I'm not.
Right.
And so that's what we ended up doing. But yeah, so that morning was kind of the last time we saw Tony and our friends. And we just got dropped off at the V&A waterfront to go see our lovely puppies.
Right, we got right there by the we've talked about that.
The Wolf Project.
Which was really cool.
And it's fun to see the dog. I mean, it gave you a taste of home, which was what we were kind of feeling by the end of the trip. I mean, we were very thankful to be there, but it was like, you're like, oh, if my animals were here and my family was here, this would be perfect.
Right, which I think is how you feel towards the end of a vacation. Mm-hmm. Is that you just kind of want a taste of your normal life, your old life. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. As much as, it was nice to have that day to kind of have our own schedule. We could do what we wanted to do, regardless if it was on the itinerary or not. But I was still pretty ready to go back, I think. Mm-hmm. As much as I knew it was going to be stressful and all of that, it was just, I was getting a little homesick.
Yeah. So that day we decided to take, they had a couple different lines of the bus that take you to different places. So we decided to take the blue line because the blue line took you to different places. And we decided to go to the
Botanical Garden?
The Botanical Garden, the Christianbach Botanical Gardens, which is massive. We probably could have spent a ton more time there, but because of the bus schedules, it wasn't really worth it to do that.
And if you've ever been to Botanical Garden, like here stateside, this is at least double the size of any I've ever been to. Mm-hmm.
And they've got different trails, and it was just beautiful. Like,
it was like in a valley. Like there's the mountains in the background, and
we got some nice pictures and flowers. Even though it was winter, there's still some pretty flowers and greenery around.
We got to see the Tree of Life.
We did. Even though it's not native to that part of Africa, they had one.
Like in a greenhouse, essentially. Mm-hmm. This giant greenhouse. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it wasn't like in bloom because it's winter. So it was just a big, very odd-looking tree.
Yeah, but it was still really cool.
Tree.
The boboa or
Boboa?
Baboa.
I don't know. It's hard to pronounce. But then we got to see a lot of succulents, all this stuff they had in the greenhouse, and then we got to venture around and see this is where Nelson Mandela came when he visited it while he was president or prime minister. What is the president? Got it. So that's pretty cool. And then we there's a lot of trails and stuff you could walk along and kind of see, and it's all brick and cobblestone and very nature heavy.
But the only problem with that place is that they did not have distance signs. So what I mean by that is if you take this trail, it's this many kilometers. Or if you take this trail, it's this many kilometers. They didn't have that.
Right. I've been to a lot of trails that have 0.7 kilometers that way. And you're like, oh, cool. Let's go that way.
Or looking for a specific thing. So our story, we were kind of walking down one of the trails randomly because we're just we've got time, whatever. Let's just enjoy the moment. And so you're walking on this trail, and we come upon a sign that says Skeleton Gorge. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it's a cool body of water. There's a gorge. There's it's
like
gonna
a
be
waterfall,
this really pretty
maybe.
lake, and blah blah blah. So I'm let's try to find it. Well,
and we're not dressed for we're just like city walking. We're not in like hiking boots, like not like what we were wearing when we were in Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm. So we're just walking and walking and walking and continuing to follow the signs.
It's getting steeper.
Yeah, and it's getting harder, and we're both getting angry.
Less paved. It's just
off the beaten path. We're getting thirsty.
We didn't like. I don't think we had bottled water. We weren't like. We're just like. It's gotta be here. Like the sign keeps saying Salzman Gorge. It's like, look at it. I'm hearing water. I'm not seeing water. Like I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And then. After a while, like, we're both getting frustrated, and we just both looked at each other at one point. We're like, yeah, let's go back down.
We're done.
I'm like, there's no, this gorge is not worth it.
I was so stubborn, though. I
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want it to beat me. I was like, I already spent all this time getting up here. I'm just going to want to see it through. Like, it seems ridiculous to turn around now, and I'm thankful that we did.
Yeah, so then we found out from because we were so frustrated, like, the last day we were there, too, because we were like, what the heck? So
because they gave us we paid the little extra to have like a map, but the map ended before the Skeleton Gorge finished, so we had no idea where it was.
Yeah, so then we asked the guy that was driving us, another tour guide named Jonathan. He's like, "Oh, you did that? That takes you to the top of the mountain."
And normally you can take the
cable
car down, but it's under construction, so you have to hike back down. And I was like, oh.
So we basically we probably hiked halfway up the mountain and didn't realize it.
Like in like casual shoes and like nice clothes, and I'm like, so we were hot and sweaty, bought bottled water, and just died a little inside. And then we were done with the botanical garden. Like, this is all flowers now, I'm done, let's go.
Yeah, and then we tried to find the proteas, and we couldn't find those, and then we were just like done. We were just
like,
so
we can go
frustrated.
maybe over this big walkway. I'm like, I'm done climbing things. We're going places I don't know. Let's just go back to the main area.
Yeah, so we ended up going there, and then by that time we were kind of hungry, so we decided that we were going to go and get something to eat. That's when we decided we were going to go to the nice area called Camps Bay.
Did we go to the Hard Rock Cafe?
Yeah. And we decided to go to the nice area with the beach, and we were going to check out the beach. Not like go swimming or anything, but just look at it and hang out at the Hard Rock, and then kind of see where the day would take us from there.
Yeah, we definitely had, since we were now on our own dime, we definitely ate a lot simpler on the 2 days by ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, let's get a burger and no alcohol, or like one beer and all this. It's
it was like, we did not eat like kings those last 2 days, but it was probably for the best.
Yeah, I was still digesting most of the food we had.
Mm-hmm. And and that's also where I got wet, because I wanted to touch the ocean, because I'm like, I'm not going in it, but I just want to like feel the water, because everybody's saying like, oh, this water's so cold, and like nobody swims at it even in the summertime. I'm like, oh yeah, right.
That seems ridiculous.
So I was going to touch the tide when it was coming in, and I did not run fast enough away from the tide.
It kept coming in. Because we saw how it went in like the first time. I was like, okay, we can do that. But we realized like, oh no, it's an ebb and flow. And it came in. And I remember you could not run it, and I just barely outran it.
I underestimated how fast the water would kind of shift up.
And it drenched.
I soaked my one foot, and I was just not happy.
Up your knee, too. Like, it got up, like, halfway up your shin.
Yeah, it was not fun.
But you got to touch the water. And we also got,
And we found seashells, which I was like... I don't know why I wasn't expecting to find seashells, but I just kind of was, like, surprised. No, but I didn't even think about it. I was like, when I saw it, I'm like, seashells? I'm like, oh, duh. Because, like...
It's the sea.
It's the sea.
Well, you always think because it's not tropical, you think of it almost like it's a lake or something.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't see that kind of stuff, but then we did, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Should we talk about the scary part of the beach? Or not the scary part of the beach.
What's scary? What do you mean?
Oh, how the people that would follow us on the beach?
No, that wasn't on the beach. That was in the downtown area.
No, I was on the beach.
Oh, there were?
Remember the guys who wanted to sell us those cloth things, those rolls they had? Mm-hmm. And, like you know, like in Chicago or wherever you, like, sometimes you see homes, they don't move. They'll hassle you, but if you walk 4 feet away, they're done. Like these, they kind of kept walking for. They don't leave like a certain radius that they're in. But
and they try
still,
to sell you stuff. And
yeah, and they're like, hey, wait. I'm like, no, don't look at anything. Just keep eyes forward, ignore them. And then after that, I think we caught we got to a point where we could wait for the train.
Not the train.
The
bus.
The bus. And then and that wasn't the museum day. Where did we go after?
I think we were just done. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock,
we were gonna,
and we were like,
we wanted to get something. I think we were gonna do, was it leftovers for dinner?
Yeah, because we had leftovers from like the beginning of the week, and we were like trying to figure out when we would eat them. And we're like,
because we knew that there was a spot that was the closest to our apartment, so we knew we had, if we didn't get off there by the last train, we were stuck wherever we were and had to like use like cabs or Uber, and it's just something we didn't really want to risk doing.
yeah, because we had never done it before, so it was like, I don't really want to start now when I don't have a guide to tell me what to do.
Right.
So yeah, we just kind of like rode around because our stop was kind of like one of the last ones on that route, and then just went home and hung out for like our last night and made sure we packed up and everything.
Because the next day we had to be out of our hotel room, regardless of the fact that our flight wasn't until
11 at night.
Right. But
Which also I didn't know until I looked at the flight information like the second day we were in Africa. I was like, oh shit, we don't just have one day to
practically
mill
two.
around. We had 2 days to mill around.
Right.
So I was like, oh crap, are we going to get bored? Like, what are we going to do?
Because in our itinerary, originally they were going to drop us off at like 4 p.m. for our flight.
Yeah.
Like that. No one's been 7 hours at an airport.
Mm-hmm. So luckily they were nice enough. Like, I was getting worried about like, okay, if we have to check out of the hotel at 11, what the hell are we going to do with these bags? Like, I'm not taking this all around. And
right. That's just unsafe, and someone could try and like rob us or.
Yeah, and the people at that hotel were really nice. Like, they were like, yeah, just leave your stuff here.
We'll lock it in the main office.
Lock it in the office. We'll leave a note for Jonathan to pick it up when he drops off his people for the night and all that. And so it was really nice. And so then we were basically stayed in the apartment until it was like 11 o'clock at night, or in the morning.
Till our checkout time.
Yeah, till the checkout time. And then we were just like, let's go walk back to the V&A waterfront or the bus so we could pick it up and go on another.
The V&A waterfront that morning.
We took the bus.
Because we had the 2-day pass.
Because we had the 2-day pass.
So we walked to our usual pickup point. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And so then we decided, was it before we decided we wanted to do the, they had a canal tour that was part of it as well.
So we want to do the harbor tour.
But the problem was because of the weather and stuff, and it was kind of unpredictable, they didn't want to take the little, they kind of were like gondolas. It
was a wide, very low boat. So like, obviously it's very, like, you could almost stick your arm out the side and touch water. Very low, very flat. It was almost like a barge, like a tiny barge.
Yeah, so then they were like, well, we're not doing it, but you can use the other one. And we're like, well, might as well use it. It was included in the 2-day pass, so we're like, why not?
We got to see some sunbasking seals while we were there.
Mm-hmm.
Like a whole, I don't know what a group is called, a harem of seals? Because there was the one male and a bunch of women and children.
I don't know.
All just laying on the, like, man-made docks they made just for the seals, so they would, like, an area to, like, sun themselves.
Yeah, it was part of the Two Oceans Aquarium, which is, like, their big conservation, like, aquarium.
Which we talked about.
Yeah, so
it was neat to see, and it did definitely smelled lovely.
Mm-hmm. Oof. But it was interesting. The canal tour was, like, you got to go through all these, like, famous hotels that have, like, villas and stuff on the river, or on the
celebrity
canal.
Real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly celebrity. Like, obviously we're not seeing anyone, but it's like, these people who have, like, stayed here or own property here, and you're like, oh, that's exciting. Mm-hmm. Like, Oprah has a penthouse around here. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was very interesting, and then they were
and
telling
it's a
us
saltwater
about...
canal.
Right, they were telling us about how, like, there's different animals that will live there, even though it's not really, like, a natural canal. And how that every 3 days the water is kind of, like, renewed because there's, like, pumps that take it out and put fresh water in.
Yeah.
Fresh seawater, not fresh water, but...
Right.
So that was really interesting.
It cycles it through.
Yeah, to see all the different... Because it went through kind of, like, some residential, like, apartments and stuff, and then it also went through some businesses, and it was really interesting to see and learn about.
And like the bus tour, which I don't know if we put it on for this. It had the oh, we did. We had the little headphones, the little like audio thing.
Yeah, so it told us like had different things to say about each area that we were passing through, and it was really nice. And then that's when we decided that we were gonna go and
see the castle.
Go and see different.
No, it wasn't the castle. What was it called?
No, it was. They called it a castle. Yeah, to go see. So there was what was it? The Good Hope Castle or something.
Yeah,
It was their military base, but they didn't call it a military base. They called it a castle.
Yeah. Essentially, it was a fort on what was at one point the beach, but they've since built up the land to have a bigger coastline and do more development. So now it's inset probably half mile, maybe a little more, but it's this big and it's older than America.
357 years old.
Yeah, and it's still in great shape for that old. Like
they do a really nice restoration job.
And the fact that like they showed like this pool that they converted into space, then back to a pool using like old paintings of the area. So it was because they like dug out, found like the original pool foundation and like brought it back to life. But said it was drained because of the winter and the water shortage and all that. But very cool to see, and got to like the petrified wood under one of the entrances because the general or the governor or something lived above it. I didn't like the sound of hoofs on cobblestone, so they put wood down to like dampen the sound. It was very interesting.
And that's also the place where we saw the prison with the cool writing.
The prison. We saw. Before we got to that, we got to see two evolutions of the prison. We saw the original because when this was like at a different time, there was like a torture room and then like a prison that was essentially in solitary, no place to sit, perfect darkness with like one window that got very minimal light. So you're just in darkness next to a torture room where you can hear people. It's like you don't want to mess up because you would probably go insane.
And they said that there were probably a lot of false confessions because people just wanted to get out.
Right, they did like the room with your fingernails. They had like racks. It was very like lash rooms and hang upside down. It was
and they actually turned off. They were like, "Oh, well, we could turn off the lights and you can see what people had to look at when you were in solitary." And it was literally pitch black
at noon.
Yeah, and it was like there's a little light at the very, very top, but that's about it.
Well, I can imagine if there with any other people, you could get not abused, but you could get. You couldn't see.
Be in trouble.
Yeah, and then they said, well, this obviously once it's the British, no,
Dutch.
Like when they thought it was too kind of savage at the time, so then they developed like a proper prison area, and you got to see like it was up high, it was more well lit. They still had like a solitary room that was a little bit darker, but remotely better. But they had these doors that we got pictures of that because the way that operated like. They had big wooden doors that were on each cell, and during the day they were just open. They were only like locked at night, I think, because it was almost like a comedy. You could come in like so. The men who were in prison there were carving on the door, just like notes, their names, whatever. But that handwriting and style for the carving from a couple hundred years ago by prisoners was beautiful. Like someone, like I don't know if they had time or they were just that skilled because it looked like it was typed and like
and like imprinted in the wood.
Yeah, like there were some like general scribbles. Like there was some where like it started fancy and then it got like sloppier as it got down. But there was some very nicely detailed work there that I was enamored by. I was like, I just want to see more of this and go inside all the rooms and see it all. Definitely really cool.
And then we got to see like there was like a few different extra areas, so we got to see like the military through the years. So there were like a little exhibit with like what the different uniforms looked like during each time period.
Right, what the fort looked like or the castle.
Yeah, like different like dioramas of everything, and that was pretty interesting.
The fighting with the natives and with from the sea and how the way the castle was built, it was able to defend attack from the mountains as well as the water. It was positioned as such, and it was very unique, and especially because just about this time last year we were at Fort McHenry, and it had a very similar vibe to that in terms of like the layout.
Yeah, because it had like those upper decks that had grass and stuff.
Right,
and
because
that's kind
it
of like
was
Fort McHenry's the same way.
to defend from the water as well as the land. It was kind of had the inner walls and the outer walls.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat that it was.
Well, and then they had like they like set up one of the like houses. I think it was like I don't know what it was. It was like the vice governor or whatever.
Oh right, you get to see all the artwork in it.
Not the artwork. They had like it set up like it would have been back in the time, and
that heavy oak furniture.
yes, it was gorgeous. And then there was another one that was set up just for they were doing that just for
like an art, like an exhibit.
Yeah.
Of like art that had to do with the Capetown, and there were paintings that supposedly from like 1600s and some earlier that were just loose, not behind glass. Like I could have picked it up if I wanted to. Probably would have set up an alarm, knowing my luck. But yeah, I was just like 1610. What the hell? Like it was just bizarre, just because it's such a much older area than America.
Yeah, it is. It is weird going to somewhere that like like
predates all of our history that we know.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't even like a thought. Like America wasn't even
Columbus
a thought.
was doing his thing when some of this stuff existed.
Which is crazy.
Right. Maybe not. That was 1592, but still, like, America was not anything yet.
So then after we went there, we decided to walk. Well, we could also talk about the walk getting there, because it didn't have an exact stop where we were supposed to, like, right in front of the castle or whatever, and the museums.
It was like right next to like this big kind of parking lot.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a busy street, and they're like, bye. And then so then we used the Google Maps walking directions to get to the castle, and
luckily they had still had kind of the sign, like not with distances like we said before, but like their street signs would kind of have like pointing to like landmarks that you want to check out.
But even still, there was a lot more pushy people, like someone who would like literally followed us, like I'd say a good half block, asking if we could give her money, and it was just
and like
so
I thought we lost, and then we
uncomfortable.
turned back, and she was still right behind us. Like I was like, this woman won't leave. I'm like, we might have to start running. Like I don't.
Like it was to the point it was very uncomfortable, and I think
Liz was holding me tight towards
Yeah.
the end of that. It was just like.
But the thing was, like, there's so many tourists, and like you'd think that
They would.
it would help, but it really didn't.
It just makes it more of a crowd.
Yeah.
And then a lot of like pop up tents of like vendors and people selling things from like toiletries to like artwork. To it was very unusual. It was like a flea market. Definitely.
Yeah, and then after we went to the castle, we decided we wanted to go to the
District 6 Museum.
District 6 Museum, which we really did not have any. We knew it had to do with apartheid, but that was pretty much it.
And we still, even after going to that museum, I still don't entirely know. Like, even I think I looked on it, and it was basically, they tried to, was it like, not gentrify, but it was like
It was a neighborhood of African Americans, or not African Americans, just Africans, of black people.
Right.
And because of apartheid, they wanted to basically take this neighborhood and turn it into a white neighborhood. And
so
there was
they
a lot
forcibly removed them from this area.
And there was a ton of backlash because of it.
It was definitely a dark mark on their history. And they still didn't even develop the land since then. Like
No.
they've done like, it's really weird. They've almost done like archaeology of like the area, and like
Yeah, and they like find things that were owned by like people that originally lived there, and like
which is weird because it was like the 60s.
Yeah, and
Like the
you
50s
felt
and 60s. Like
you
it
were,
wasn't that long ago.
Right, because apartheid ended in the 90s, so it was just like, it was very weird to see stuff, and you were like as exactly like an archaeology dig, and you're like, but it's not that old. I mean,
No.
compared to some of the other stuff we were seeing was from like 300 years ago, but like,
Right. It was still very sobering to be there, even though like we didn't quite understand the story. It did feel, it just felt weird. It was very quiet. I remember there's
a lot of reading, and I think that was some of the problem too.
And it was a pricier museum for what it was too.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of the money goes to help the families that are still around that were involved in it. But I remember that like one like all the exhibits and on that second they had that one thing. It's usually if you took your feet here, you could hear like recordings and new stuff like perfectly.
That's right, yeah.
But as soon as you take like a step out of it, it's silence again. I'm like, that is so cool. Just the acoustics of this little like glass like funnel shaped thing. It was very interesting.
Because it was like the music that you would have heard if you were in that area at the time, and like kind of like an immersion thing.
Right. It was in like this
It was basically in like a warehouse.
Essentially, like it had an upper like railing that ran around that was just like a walkway. And then, like, you had the main room, but it was very minimal. But it was still very powerful, and you even still had, like, a gift shop and, like, a little, like, book area, and it was very interesting. But it was just quiet, and it was warm, and it was just, like, yeah. And still, even after going through I still don't quite, like, other than, like, the fact they were forced to move, I didn't understand much of the story. Yeah. And the fact that it's still interesting that, like, even though Capetown, all of the real estate is more expensive, the whole area that was District 6 has not been touched since then. It's just a grassy field with like some semblance of roadways that used to exist.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see. I think it would have helped if they told us like, oh, there's an order to this, because really there wasn't much.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if we did it.
Because I don't know if we did it in the right order either. Because I think there were like stories that went along with like people's like kind of people's backstories and like important people in the neighborhood and things like that. And I think that was kind of like, I think we kind of missed that. So it'd be interesting. I think I would definitely try and go back if we did go back, just to figure out like, okay, like I want to get this in order so I kind of understand the story completely, so that I'm not like completely lost.
I definitely want to do more like research, like get some books and just be like really get into the whole world before we would go back.
Yeah. And
also I really wanted to go to the Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg, since we haven't actually ever been inside like the city proper.
Yeah, because apparently because I guess it would have been like another hour and a half to go back to the Apartheid Museum, and that would have been like an extra day that we would have had to schedule ahead of time, whatever. So we didn't end up doing that. But But yeah, so it was, it was interesting, and then basically once we were done there, it was like getting close to the time when the last buses were going, so we're like, well, we kind of had to make a choice.
Is that when we did the full loop to get kind of back to our starting point?
So, but before we did that, we went back to the station where they dropped us off, and then there's a coffee shop there, and it was like they had cannabis coffee. We were like, oh, yeah, let's do that, because in South Africa, weed is legal. So we're like, yeah, let's try it. Come to find out that when you order a regular coffee, they give you a regular coffee.
You had
to order it special, like, oh, I want the cannabis.
We thought the whole place was just cannabis coffee, and that everything.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and it was like. Yeah, it was just not what we were expecting. So
right, it's like, you could buy grounds. Man. I'm like, we can't bring cannabis coffee grounds with us back to America. That's just asking for trouble. So,
I mean, even still, the coffee was fine, and then we got on the bus, but then it was like rush hour. So we're literally sitting in this traffic, and I was like bored out of my skull.
Oh, because like
we were both getting motion sick because of the stop and go, and it was just like. We needed to, like, sit and, like, we couldn't sit next to each other.
And it was kind of rainy, so we couldn't go to, like, the top. And it was just, like, I was, like, I was getting, like, so done. Get off and walk. I'll get there faster.
Yeah, and it was, like, we had to take a really big loop to get back to the waterfront so that we could...
but this was the last train. Like, there was nothing else coming past it, so...
Not train, bus.
I can't want to say train, yeah. The bus. It was like the only way to get back to our starting point was on this bus, so we had to just take it to the end.
And if we missed it, we would have had to take a taxi
or start hoofing it. And I was not about that.
That would have been a really long hoof. So basically, we got back, and then we decided we went. I don't know if we talked about it before, but there's a really cool shopping kind of bazaar called the Watershed, and that we had gone there with our group and stuff, and looked around, and we saw one of the things that we really liked. It was kind of like a canvas wood block that like they kind of like they had like little boards and hooks that you can put on them, and like could make a really cool like art statement piece. And so we were like, oh, well, maybe we'll go back, and, like, we wanted to go back and see if what we wanted was still there, and, like,
Because we
is
did
it worth
see it also at the botanical garden, but the prices were all different. It was just figure out what we wanted, and
Yeah, and so we ended up running there, like, right before it closed, and got one little one of a guinea fowl, because I was obsessed with guinea fowls there.
I don't know where that block is.
I have it.
Okay.
Because my idea was like, well, maybe like if I can just get one, I mean the doing like a mounting board with hooks wouldn't be super expensive or super hard. And then I was like, if we just get one of the blocks, then we can figure out how maybe it's designed so that maybe we can do our own and print like our own images onto these canvases and whatever, and kind of make it like our own. So that's what we decided to do. And then after that, we were kind of like, well, we're hungry, so we went to the bar the first day we were in Capetown, and it was called, what was it called? I know Ferryman's was the restaurant that we were at.
Oh, it was,
Mitchell's?
Mitchell's.
Yeah, it was Mitchell's pub.
Mitchell's we went to first, and the Ferryman's we went to second.
Yeah, so we went to Ferryman's for dinner and stuff, because we still had some time to kill. But luckily, I mean, what kind of sucked was that we probably would have more time, but the fact that we were stuck in traffic made it a hell of a lot longer.
We were essentially on that bus for a couple hours.
It was like the last stop that was supposed to go to Christenbach, which was the kind of like a middle stop, was like 45 minutes late. So by the time we got to some of these stops, like there was nobody there. But, like, once we got a little closer, then then it was easier. Then there were more people that were getting on the bus and stuff, so. Yeah, and then we kind of ended our night at Ferryman's, and we got to sit kind of, like, in an outdoor, like, covered patio, and, it was really nice, and then for some reason, they had an American band there.
It was,
I don't know if it was...
I think it was a South African band that was playing American music.
Yeah, so it was just very odd. We were not expecting it. So we stayed there for a little bit. The food was pretty good. Kind of same thing.
We got to have the beer we liked on tap for the first and last time.
For the yeah, because every time we tried to order a Black Label, they'd be like, oh, we're out. Grr.
We only have it in bottles.
We only have it in bottles, but we're like, we just really want to have it on tap, and this place had it, so we were good. Mm-hmm. So then after that, we kind of decided, like, all right, we only have a little bit more time to kill, and we were kind of waiting on Jonathan to call us, because he's like, okay, I'll call you when I drop the people off from dinner, and then I'll come and get you guys, and I'll drop you off at the airport.
And it was making me a little nervous because my phone was acting up the last couple of days we were there, so I was worried that like we weren't be able to reach each other, and because like I couldn't sometimes I would call and it would do the no service, so it was making me nervous. So
then we got ice cream to make it frozen yogurt. Actually,
you had marula frozen.
I had marula frozen yogurt, and it was delicious.
And it was weird because typically when you get a certain flavored frozen yogurt, it's like a color that you'd associated. They didn't add any artificial dyes to taste, so everything was white.
Yeah,
which was interesting. I had a white strawberry.
Yeah,
frozen yogurt. It was just bizarre, but it's probably better for you. You don't need the extra dyes. Mm-hmm.
So it was good. I really enjoyed it.
And the whole thing with the nuts, where you thought
they were putting. So I thought that I had mine in a cone, and I thought that they were putting
crushed nuts,
crushed nuts at the bottom, because sometimes, ice cream shops will put something at the bottom,
a marshmallow or something to plug it up.
But it's not. It was broken up cone, because I was like, whoa, I'm allergic to nuts, don't do that. And they're like, no, it's cone, broken cone. I'm like, wow, I feel like an ass, so that was fun. But then we kind of just walked around, and pretty much, a few minutes after we had gotten our ice cream, we had gotten the call, and he's like, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and then that was kind of the end.
Yeah,
end of our journey.
It was. So
we just hung out at the airport and got all our t-shirts, because we thought there'd be more t-shirts. We would thought, oh yeah, the airport's gonna have a lot of different t-shirts, and really there wasn't.
T-shirt.
And Andrew got a t-shirt that is too small.
Because European sizes. Mm-hmm. Have you tried your t-shirt on yet?
No, I'm a little nervous too.
because the European sizes are slimmer, so it kind of fits. It fits you like a really, really.
It's like an extremely slim cut T-shirt.
And I'm like, like I could wear it. It just hugs everything, and it's not what you want. You want a T-shirt that's more loose fitting and kind of comfy. Like, so either I need to lose more weight or it becomes one of Liz's shirts. So we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. But so they had a lot. It was like a lot of like at the shop. It was a lot of like last hurrah, like gifts you forgot to get for family, snacks you wanted to try because they had like then that had like soda and candies and stuff that were South African only. They had like the biltong and other stuff that you couldn't get. They had all the little crafts. They had a bookstore inside the airport.
It was nothing
duty free.
It was nothing like going to an airport in America.
It still very felt much like a regional airport, even though it was like one of the largest airports in South Africa.
Yeah,
the second largest. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting. But then we got on our flight, and luckily this return flight was more split up because we were going to Amsterdam, and it was and since our flight was so late, it was an overnight flight, essentially.
So it was nice because we were able to sleep because we were on the schedule. So we're like, all right, well, we basically stayed up until we could fall asleep, which was pretty much like a couple hours after we were in the air.
Mm-hmm. And it was nice. It was a comfy plane. We lucked into having, we were in the middle row. It was a 3-4-3 flight, or 3-4-3 rows on the plane. Mm-hmm. And we were in the middle 4, but luckily there was only 3 of us. So there was a little gap between Liz and the lady on the other aisle. So that made it a little bit, so we kind of spread out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it was a really like updated plane, so like the screen was good. It was a lot more intuitive than the original flight screen. And yeah, got to sleep, got to actually, like, because the first flight, I didn't sleep hardly at all. Liz did sleep very good, so being able to actually, like, get a good sleep on the way back was nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we flew instead of flying into Atlanta like we had done before, we actually flew into Amsterdam. Unfortunately, it was only a 2-hour layover, so really we cleaned up really quick. We like changed clothes because being in we kind of learned from the first flight, like being in the same clothes for 20 hours or more is really disgusting. So we were like, we're going to plan ahead and we're going to just change in Amsterdam, and then we're going to, so then we'll feel at least semi-okay with it.
Stockpiling all those wipes.
Yeah, like deodorant wipes, face wipes, just deodorant, everything.
Because you're not doing anything. When you're sitting on a plane, you just feel gross. Mm-hmm.
That was like the first thing I wanted to do when I got home, was just take a shower, because I was like, this is disgusting.
I've been out for, I've been in the air for a day. I need to, clean and cool off and stuff. And then Amsterdam was hot. So
yeah,
after, and I was hungry, so I tried to get that. We had to use, it was Euros, and there was a Lego store, and we actually had a very short layover. Everyone's like, oh, you should do something do the Amsterdam things. We're like, no, we had 0 time.
Yeah. And even, the 2 hours went by super quick. We really didn't sit down very long. Once we found our gate, which I felt like was on the complete other side of the airport.
We had to hoof it from...
we didn't know what to do. We were just kind of done.
Because didn't we have an Amsterdam-ish customs thing we had to kind of go through, too?
Yeah, they did something
a secondary security after we landed, we had to go through a security again.
Yeah, but it was interesting because it's a lot better than the U.S. because what they did, they're like, well, you don't need to take anything out of your bag. Just leave everything in your bag. You don't need to take your shoes off. You don't have to take your belt off. Just leave it. And they have, a more sophisticated x-ray machine. And so if they saw something funky, there were, kind of 2 tracks. So you could they would either send your bag down the cleared track, or they would send it down the one where it was more of a secondary check. And so that was really nice. And then you just kind of sat in that 3-second body scanner, and that was it.
They caught my rhino.
They did catch your rhino, but at least they didn't take it away. It was a wood carved rhino, and
it's my desk ornament. Mm-hmm. That I wanted to get the whole time we were in Africa. I was like, I need a desk ornament, and I got it. Mm-hmm. And I look at it all the time. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Yeah,
so that was an interesting experience, but I think that was more something that kind of slowed us down. If we didn't have to do that, I think we would have had more time to because I was like in so much of a rush. I was like, Andrew, you're gonna miss. He wanted to get something to eat, and I'm like, nope, I'm gonna sit here. I got my thing of stroopwafel. I'm like, here.
Bring me a drink.
I'm like, yeah, just bring me something to drink. I'm not moving. I don't wanna risk us missing getting on the plane, and we didn't. But Andrew did have to like snarf down his food to get on the plane, and
interesting. There was also another coffee shop-ish thing, but it was fine. And then we got on the plane, and it was an older plane, so it had no movie note. It was just a very. But we did luck into. We're still in the middle row, but because the flight was undersold or whatever, we had that whole fourth section to ourselves.
Yeah, so we basically sat on either end so that we could kind of just spread out.
The only thing was the armrest didn't go up all the way.
Yeah, because we were sitting in the back row.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they could, because then we could have like put our feet up or kind of reposition. But we still managed. We were able to stretch out into like 2 seats worth of like leg room, and we watched a lot of Stranger Things. We finished that on our return flight, and then we landed in what. I don't think we slept much on that second flight.
No.
But we managed to the food on the return flight was okay. We didn't really touch on it. Because it was an Amsterdam flight, everything was in Swedish, right?
No.
No, Dane. What was the language they were talking in?
Amsterdam, they speak Dutch.
Was it Dutch?
Yes, the Netherlands is Dutch.
Okay. Well, it didn't sound familiar to me. Mm-hmm. So, but they were speaking on that. It was just like because like sometimes you're on a flight and like it was weird that it was English and that was it. It was just very bizarre.
Yep.
But luckily we landed in O'Hare and got to go through customs because we were entering from a foreign country. But because we were Americans, we got to go through kind of more of an express lane. It felt like.
Yes.
Because I was like, oh, we need this paper to fill out to declare things. And you're like, no, I don't think we need that. And I asked people like, no, you're fine. Just go do the screen and answer like there's like dozen questions. Like you're bringing live things. Are you bringing meat? Are you bringing plant? Like it was just all the things that you shouldn't be bringing in. And we brought dog treats, so we had to declare that. And we had wine, which we had to declare and go through. And they're like, what did you get? We got dog treats. Oh, okay. And then check, go get our bags and leave. Mm-hmm. And then your dad was there to pick us up, and then that was the end of our trip. Yeah,
still miss it.
I know.
I want to go back.
It'll be waiting for us when we're ready.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely a life-changing experience, and I feel like such a dick sometimes talking about it because I'm like, because it was something that I like, it was a dream and it was achieved now, and now it's kind of like, well,
now what do I do?
The rest of my life is just kind of like boring now. My adventure is over.
Right.
Now what do I do?
It was a once-in-a-lifetime trip.
But we're going to have it happen twice, hopefully.
Definitely don't think I would bring kids.
No.
People have brought kids. I don't know if I want to go on vacation with children. I feel like you just leave them at home. Vacation's for you.
Yeah.
Don't bring screaming kids who don't want to be there anyway. No.
Yeah,
no, we'll figure that out. But
yeah,
it's still a ways off.
Yeah. So I guess that's it.
That is
man.
it. That concludes
the epic of Liz and Andrew visit Africa.
I have no idea what we're talking about when we get back. Probably maybe back to school or I don't know.
We'll find something to talk about.
There'll be something worthwhile, but definitely stay tuned. And if surely our next trip, wherever it takes us, we'll talk about it. Probably not over 3 episodes, but definitely be something to enjoy. But I think that'll do it for Adulting It Easy for this week. Mm-hmm. I am Andrew.
And I'm Liz.
You guys have a great week.